Hello, I'm live and I'm also extremely dark. As it happens as I look at the screen. It seems, yeah, a little bit dark, but never mind. So, welcome to episode 37 of Ask Karl G. Thank you very much for everybody who put their comments in. If you've got any questions, any comments, then stick them in the comments and I'll get to them either during the show or more likely I'll leave the comments after the show and get your questions and do them on the next show. So I got some good comments last time, but before I get into the comments, I just want to address an email that I got from somebody who is having problems with her horse. There's a bit of a backstory. I've taken some notes so I can get you up to speed. Basically, it's about pain management. This person has got fibromyalgia and a trapped nerve. There's been a few falls and an anticipation of pain. Not really from falling. The anticipation of pain is from horse riding. The anticipation of pain is affecting her anxiety and affecting her confidence. Plus, she's surrounded by people saying, "Well, is it really worth you riding horses again?" She goes on to finish by saying, by asking if hypnosis will help with the pain, which will help with the anxiety, which will help with the confidence. And of course, she's absolutely right. Pain management is bread and butter to a hypnotherapist. If you are more stressed, then you will feel pain more. If you've got a dodgy knee and the doorbell rings and you know that it's someone coming to invite you to dinner at Johnny Depp's house, you would get up in a very different way than if it was the bailiffs. There you are. So people know this instinctively. And if you can relax, then you can manage your pain much better. You can notice it less. It can interfere with your life less if you're relaxed instead of letting the stresses get to you. So the answer to that is an emphatic yes. Yes, hypnosis will help there. So that's good. That was nice and simple. If you've got chronic pain, hypnosis can help you. Get to your friendly local hypnotherapist and get yourself booked in. The email goes on to say that she feels absolutely desperate to ride horses. She's at the end of her tether, tried counselling, but no one seems to understand my need to ride is real. I just keep getting, is it worth it? So this is a long old email with all the problems, obviously, and at a particularly low finish at the end of my tether, surrounded by people saying, "Is it worth it?" Overwhelmingly, so the answer to your question, the answer to your email is yes, hypnotherapy will help. But as I read the email, and I get lots of emails like this, I get lots of emails where people are at the end of their tether, they can't see the joy, they and that's my question back again to this email. Overwhelmingly, where's the joy? Where's the joy? Where's the pleasure? Where's the fun? Where's the bright future? And I understand that people feel depressed about the whole thing when it's all going horribly wrong. But for example, the need to ride, yeah, I'm with that. But there's so many other things you could do as an intermediate, almost a bite size, to bring back your physicality. The email also goes on to say that um, there was a misdiagnosis and everybody said you must not ride again. So she's lost her core strength. So if there is a physicality and you need to get on top of your pain, your anxiety, and your stress, because they're a continuing negative circle that is just going to affect your confidence, of course it is, but you have a desire to ride, there's nothing wrong in taking that goal and just stretching it out and making enough space for an intermediate place where you can enjoy your horse, regain your fitness, regain your confidence, re-find your enjoyment, and then we can look at riding when the pain has alleviated, the fitness is better, the confidence in the horse is already back. I'm thinking of things like long reining. I often go on about long reining, a superb intermediate. You can set up all kinds of assault courses, obstacle courses for you and your horse to do. Long reining in a circle if you're not so mobile. Maybe if you've got one leg that doesn't work very well and you can't really get a move on, but you can do so many things. Long reining, that's just the first thing that came into my head. Stretch out your gut. I need to ride again. I get you, yeah, with it. But there's nothing to say that you can't continue to work with your horses and find the joy in that whilst you prepare to get back into riding. Remember, no one says you have to be jumping jumps and doing cross-country courses. The horse doesn't care. The horse does care that it's being stimulated and has things to do. But some people never ride their horses. Ploughmen, they just walk very slowly in a straight line, but they've got plenty to engage their horses to do as they enjoy their discipline. I saw an act, I've mentioned it before, Rosie and Scout. I saw it with Spirit of the Horse. And Rosie and Scout was most splendid at. Scout would lay down in a bed and Rosie would cover it up with a blanket and the horse would pull the blanket off and she'd cover it up again and the horse would pull the blanket off and then she'd try to get the horse up and it wouldn't get up and she'd get at the tail and she'd wind it up to the sound of a bit of clockwork. And this act went on and on. It was super. And then I saw another act, Ali Mary in Dubai, and he had this beautiful horse, and he'd jump to the left and jump to the right, and the horse would be jumping to the left and the right, mirroring his actions. Then he'd throw this white square plywood thing down, and the horse would put its front feet on it. Wherever he threw it, the horse would put its front feet on it, and then he'd indicate to the floor, and the horse was quite a long way away, and it'd bow right down, it'd put a little chin on the floor, and then he'd whistle for his eagle, and the eagle would come in and land on the horse's upturned bum. It was brilliant. So there's a whole bunch of things. If you did the whole long reining obstacle thing, made the Rosie and Scout act, made the Ali Mary act, you would be 3 years down the line. You'd be 3 years down the line. Your confidence with your horse would be through the roof. You'd know exactly what that horse was going to do. You'd have made yourself fit. You'd have fulfilled your desire to work with your horse. And yes, you haven't yet ridden, but all you did was expand that. And once you're progressing with your horse and your anxiety's gone down and you realize that you are the horse person that you always used to be, then your pain would be more manageable. And what would it matter if you got to the point where you do your little ground exercises or your big ground exercises, achieve everything that you wanted to achieve, and then you jump on and ride for 10 minutes because that's all your joints can take nowadays? What's wrong with that for a picture? The joy could start now, and as part of finding your confidence and as part of finding ways of managing your stress, the pain from your physical limitations would automatically subside, because it does. You can also add into that some help from your hypnotherapist, which will help that. So when I get these long lists, the answer is always, where's the joy? There is joy to be had straight away, which will help you progress on your. People don't need to fixate, I must be riding by June. It just might not be the case, but that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it in between. Anyway, that's the answer to my email. I hope you've enjoyed listening to that, but I'm just going to speak with some of the comments that we had yesterday. If I can find those, I've just had to. So yesterday I put up a post, and thank you very much for everybody who commented. And I'll just read out a couple of the questions that I got. And if you've got a question, then bob it into the comments. Let's just make sure the comments are working. So if you could just send me a thumbs up or a smile or a hello or something, that'll let me know that everybody can hear. I've been going on for 10 minutes already, so it would be good. So is anybody there? Just bob a little hello in. I'll just put a little smiley face in there just to set the comments off. Okay. And if you've got any questions, you can bob them in the comments. Have a little look at what we got. And this is what we got from yesterday. So first comment, where are we? Recently purchased a horse to ride, super gentle. He's been really sweet under saddle, but it's obvious to me that he needs exposure. Terrified of fly spray, jumps, and general things. My question is, how safe is he? Right now, arena riding only. Thanks for your help. Isn't that interesting? So the answer is, you're doing exactly the right thing. Exactly the right thing. Arena riding only. 1,000,000%. So that's exactly what I do. I just looking off to the distance there, I was trying to decide which of the many horses I've had like that to use as an example. But what strikes me, what is really interesting, is what you're saying is exactly right. So I once wanted to learn how to do a sliding stop, the Western sliding stop, and I knew how to do it. I've mentioned this before. I knew how to do it. What you do is you run the horse at the fence as if you're going to go right through it and then stop at the last minute and the horse starts to slide if it's got the correct surface. And you start that way. I knew it. Could I do it? No. So I booked a Western riding lesson and I put the horse up in the horse box and drove 30 miles and turned up at this place. And guess what they told me to do? They told me to jump on the horse, ride at the fence as if I mean to go through it, and then ask them to stop at the very last second. And the horse started to do its sliding stop. So it's funny, isn't it? I knew what to do. I knew I was doing the right thing. And it's only when somebody else gives you permission to do the thing that you want to do, gives you permission to take the credit for the things that you know. That's what confidence is, taking credit for your own knowledge and opinion, which is exactly what's happened here. So, new horse, terrified of everything, arena riding only? Yes, absolutely. But within that arena riding, we need to build up the relationship that when we do come across something that could be perceived as dangerous, the thing to do is to ask the one on board whether or not this is safe. So how do we do that? By, whilst we're in the arena, setting up lots of things that we might encounter in life and things that we might not encounter in life. Just anything, any spook that you can set up in the bite size that you can deal with and your horse can deal with. And when you're dealing up with a spook that you can deal with and your horse can deal with, that's just called a challenge. It's not a spook because we know that the horse can deal with it. So, for example, carrying a flag. Easy peasy. If you pick up a great big flag, like one of those big silky ones that fills up half the arena and whips in the wind, well, you might have taken a bit of a bite size too far then. But you can always break it down to the bite size that you can do. And then if there's any problem, you can always throw the flag away because it's only a small size. But you can introduce the horse to this challenge. And then the challenge could get increased that you're doing a circle. Every time you come to the outside track, you get the base of your flag and you just go bang on the arena fence. I mean, we might be 6 weeks down the line before we're drumming out a tattoo. But challenges, other challenges. You get some of those large exercise balls and go and kick them about the arena. Get a garden sprinkler, put your wet weather gear on and ride through that. You could walk over a tarp, walk over a crash mat. I only say that because we've got crash mats here. Just set up all the challenges, little obstacles that you get to reverse round. Every time you're telling the horse, when the something of death leaps out to get you, I'll get you past it. By the time you spend enough time in that arena doing the challenges, increasing them so that by the end of it, you're riding through a ring of 8 garden sprinklers with your wet weather gear on, and everybody's going, oh, what brave horse! Wish I had a horse like that. Well, I have. The answer is, are you going to do the work to teach the horse that when you're unsure, just ask me and I'll get you through it. And I'll get you through it by schooling you. By I wouldn't be pushing you on past the tarp of death or the feed bag pinned to the fence of death. If it was genuinely a lion, I wouldn't be continuing to school you. And by the time you've done 1,000 of these, by the time you go out in the wide world and a bicycle comes past, well, your horse doesn't know if this is just another challenge, but it does know what to do. Ship me a bicycle. Best thing to do, listen to that one on board. What do? We carry on with our legs underneath us and our contact on the bit being just so, and our head carriage being just so, and the rhythm being just so, and that's what we do. So yeah, 1,000,000% keep the arena work going, but within the arena work, let's make up some stimulation that we can guide the horse through to explain to the horse that I know the ways of this world. Don't you worry. I'll let you know if something's dangerous. Just do as I say and we'll be fine. There we are. We're humans. We're the clever ones. Wouldn't it be awful? I have actually read comments on these flipping nervous rider pages of people going, you shouldn't be the leader. It should be a partnership. Nonsense. Could you imagine anything more cruel than for you to go into an environment that you see as dangerous with somebody who knows exactly what you need to do and they're refusing to tell you because they go, no, you shouldn't be a leader. Work it out for yourself. That's just my little rant. You probably disagree with me. Okay. Lovely, lovely. Let's see what else people have said. Now, this is absolutely great because I was talking about frames of reference and how if you've got a frame of reference that something's possible and everybody on your yard knows that this thing is possible. I was talking about doing tricks on horses. I just mentioned the Rosie and Scout act. That's possible. Now, I know it's possible. I've seen a few of those acts and they're all fantastic. I know they're possible. We could go and do that. And everybody else on this yard knows it's possible. And you get carried away with that. You get carried along with it. So I just want to read this comment because it's articulated it so much better than I can do. It's from Nat, who's given us lots of contributed loads to this page and to the Mountain Division Ultimate Ride Confidence group. It's marvelous. So really interesting frame of reference, and everybody's sharing the same frame of reference that what you're doing is 100% doable. I experienced that on my recent riding camp. You get the frame of reference from the moment you get the itinerary. You read it and immediately follow the logic and can see this is a tried and tested itinerary over years of experience, probably very much like the preparation for your shows, meaning my shows. Then when you get there, there isn't even a question as to whether everything on the itinerary is doable, as everyone there, your fellow campers, all the staff have got the mindset, this is what's happening, this is what we're going to do, and we'll have fun along the way. This filters through to everything that you do on the camp, so you end up doing things you never thought you'd do if you were asked to do them somewhere else, jumping ditches, water jumps, cantering in open fields. But this is the good bit, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything mad. It just seems like a logical progression, and it's not until the end that you think, wow, we did that. The frame of reference really permeates down to the horse too, so that they feel confident as well. The reason why I read that out, I've said this for ages, it's just that I'm very lazy, and she wrote it so much more eloquently than I said. But it's absolutely true. I use in my book the frame of reference of the battle scenes that we do, and I've got in mind a rider that came for our shows and made all the usual rider clucking noises. He hadn't done a lot of shows and made all the usual rider clucking noises about flags and everything else about this show. And then we went off to do a battle scene on the beach. And we were galloping along this beach in Wales. And you've got your helm on and you can't really see. And I'm galloping along. And there's bombs going off in the sand, these air bombs making them blow. And so your horse is jumping quite a lot, and there's plenty of horses stumbling and the riders falling off and all sorts. And mine fell over, but I was in the sea, so I just got wet. Anyway, we're galloping along, and I saw this horse's head just outside there, and I saw it suddenly drop down, and then I saw some back feet drop down, and then I saw a rider drop down. And clearly this horse had done a head over heels, thrown the rider up, and then the rider came down. And I was galloping along thinking, oh, hope that's not me. And we finished the film. So then I turned around, and it was the same fella. And not only was he not bothered by this spectacular fall, spectacular, one of the most extreme falls that I've ever witnessed, he was running about. By the time we'd stopped, turned round and looked at all the various people rolling around on the floor, which happened every take, he was already up and running around, shouting, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right. The same person that had been wigging out a short while ago because the horse had a flag and he thought it was getting him in trouble with his riding in my show. How amazing. Why do you think he could have the most spectacular head over heels fall in a huge environment, then jump up and run around going, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right? It's because the other 18 people who were also rolling around on the floor were jumping up, running around going, I'm all right, I'm all right, I'm all right. And they'd done it the take before and the take before, and they'd been doing that for the last week. It's just the frame of reference at the moment that the extreme can seem perfectly normal. But just as a word of warning, it also goes the other way. The frame of reference, if you've got a frame of reference around you that horses are out to do you harm and you're lucky, if you fall off and not get hurt, you're lucky, and you could have been dragged, because there was this woman in 1973 who horse jumped out of a bin, and I saw it on Facebook, then you're going to find a total opposite frame of reference come in. But yeah, thanks for that comment. That was really good. If anyone's got a comment, please stick it into the comments. If you've got a question, stick it into the comments and I can get to them again. Marvelous. I'm going to go on to the next one. Hi, if I take my young horse riding alone, which I've done a couple of times last year, but found he was napping, and he stops if he's worried about, say, a parked lorry and I'm on a road, would you advise to get off and lead him past? I have pushed him past to get him past due to traffic behind. It's not a main road, but a side road, which is ridden down many times with other horses. I haven't ridden him out alone for a while since last year, as I want him to gain confidence going out with the older horses before we try again. Been letting the other horse go first, so he will follow. Not sure how to deal it when eventually I go out on my own. So that's interesting. What I would say there is back to the first question that we had, where set up spooks in the arena as much as possible. The spook doesn't have to be the parked lorry. If you've got a problem with push chairs, you don't have to do push chairs. What you have to do is everything you could possibly think of. Train them for everything or anything. Train them for anything, and you prepare them for everything. If you train them to anything, you train them for everything. In terms of the parked lorry, what I would do would be to have the principle that action beats anxiety. So if we're doing some schooling of some kind, then chances are I'm not going to let the lions attack. Doing some schooling of some kind might be, if we're going down a straight road, you could have some little schooling things that you do, such as shoulder in or trotting particularly well with your bit just so, and your legs just so, and your top line just so, and the rhythm just so. It could be a little bit of stop, turn on the back legs, go the other way. That might be an interesting thing to do. It could be reversing. Now, I'm not saying only do these things when you're by a spook, otherwise it's just going to go wrong. But if you had these all the time, like every now and then I do a little bit of leg yielding or a little bit of a bend or, then when you get to the horse suddenly being interested in something in the environment, if you start going through your exercises, then the horse will be reassured that A, nothing's wrong, because you wouldn't be schooling him if that lorry was suddenly turned into a pack of lions. And B, you're so focused on action beats anxiety. This is what we're going to do. And we are coincidentally doing this thing in the vicinity of a parked lorry. Now, for the spirit of bite sizes, I'd start off past the lorry coming back home, because chances are that the attraction to come back home would make the lorry absolutely nothing. I'm certain of it, actually. There's much more fuss made of the lorry going out than coming back. But nonetheless, that's one thing that you could do. Have all these exercises and just check on the coming home way how much is actually making a fuss about the lorry. Another great tip is reversing past spooks. So if he's backing off, as if you are going out and he's backing off, provided you've got reversing down pat, and it's a really good reason to get a nice fast reverse, is if they're starting to slow, you could actually ask for a halt, spin around, ask for a reverse, and they'll usually, if they're facing home, reverse out past the obstacle quite happily. It just confuses them because hang on, that's the direction I wanted to go, but now I'll reverse and then spin around and off you go and you passed it. That's another really good thing. So there's plenty of food for thought there, that you can get past the lorry without focusing on getting past the lorry, if that makes sense. Don't focus on what you don't want. I don't want you to spook at this lorry. It's just a lorry, and everything in my mouth, everything in my actions is saying lorry, 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 lorry. But actually, we want to be saying shoulder in, reverse, turn, head down on the contact, nice forward, extended trot. I haven't mentioned the L word there, but yes, provided that we don't do that only when there's a spook, otherwise they'll start to make an association that something's wrong, which is the exact opposite of what we're trying to say. There we are, lovely. Let me just have a quick look through the comments, say hello to a few people. Hi Lynn, hi Audrey, hi Debs. ¿Cómo estás? Jazz, Karen, thank you very much for turning up. Jane, Wendy, Felicity, Linda, Helen, Elizabeth. Hello, hello. Let me just have a look, see if there's any more. Ah, yes, I think we'll make this last one because it's been half an hour. That's probably long enough for a broadcast, wouldn't you say? If you've got any questions yourself, stick them in the comments, especially if you're watching on replay. That you've got plenty of time to chew it over and think what you'd like to ask. If I can help, I will, and if I can't, I won't. When you break it down into bite sizes, should the bite sizes be best suited to you or your horse? I have a young horse, and people say a young horse needs pushing to stop it getting bored and into mischief. But I'm only just getting to know him and not ready to push him and myself too much, as I've lost my confidence since losing my old horse of 21 years. Will he get bored and naughty if I don't get him out and about on adventures? Or will a young horse be happy to take it at the rider's pace, provided I can keep his tasks as varied as I can, brackets, within my comfort zone? If you want to read these comments, by the way, they're on yesterday's broadcast. This again is back to when I went to learn sliding stop. What you're saying is 100% absolutely correct. What you're saying, that's the bit at the end. Whoever said a young horse needs pushing to stop it getting bored, nonsense. not if you're ready for it. So you started off by saying, should the bite sizes be suited to you or your horse? You. Suppose you've got a horse that can jump 2 meters. You buy a horse that can jump 2 meters, and its next step is to jump 210. That's the bite size for the horse, but it's not your bite size, and it would rapidly go terribly wrong. The horse doesn't actually care if it doesn't jump, and it is quite happy to do what it's told, as long as it's stimulated, as long as it's varied, which is what you quite sensibly say at the end. Provided I keep this class as varied as I can. So let's say that we are interested in jumping, and you've got to your limit, and you think your horse is getting bored. Well, there's nothing to wrong in keeping the horse's interest in making, let's say, the 50 centimeter jump in an interesting combination, or interesting series of turns, or an interesting trotting poles beforehand, or something to keep his mind engaged, which is still working within your comfort zone of learning rather than going into the panic zone. So whoever said pushing a young horse to stop it from getting bored, don't, no, keeping it interested, keeping it stimulated, which does require more work on your part. You do have to sit down and think. You've got to use the intellectual brain that we've been given as people to think of all sorts of things which would keep the horse interested, but it's definitely in your comfort zone. Don't push yourself out of your comfort zone to try and keep up with the horse, but do put the effort into finding something within your comfort zone that will keep the horse stimulated and satisfied. There we are. I think on that note, I shall say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. It's been nice to see you all here. If you've got any questions, stick them in the comments, and if I can help, I will. See you later.